Mayor and councillors, I'm here in this deputation is in regards to the Birchcliff resident. In September 1999, the City of Toronto entered into a 5-year lease for the 1673 Kingston Road building that was a nursing home and for a rent of $24,000 a month. The building is a 22,000 square foot and can house 60 residents. After the lease expired, over the last 11 years, we have met with the city on numerous occasions to renegotiate a new lease and have been given the runaround. The rent remains the same since 1999, even though market value has increased. Repairs and maintenance has been an ongoing concern between the city and myself. The lease specifies that the city is responsible for the interior of the building. The city has never had proper maintenance staff to tend to the daily, weekly, and monthly upkeep of the building. On occasions, I have been called to fix items that existed if they had a maintenance person on staff, should have fixed it. I have obliged and continued to fix. I have continuously been called for repairs for flooring, bathrooms, painting, locks, hinges, push-out bars. These are what a maintenance person should be doing, and the city has not had someone there. They had a cleaner, and at times the place wasn't well clean. I've asked to talk to the managers about that. We met with the city about buying the property, and at one point, and the city in 2008, the city lawyer Barry Ditto and the facilities and real estate person from the city came with their lawyer, and at that time we discussed the city purchasing the building. The sale, we agreed to sell the city the property. The city specified that, as this lease specified, they had the first right of refusal. However, the city never got back to us. Again, I met with the city on many occasions and have agreed to a list of repairs which I have done, and give me assurance that once the lease were completed, the city would enter into a new lease at market value. Number of repairs, some repairs have been done. Even this year, I have a list of maintenance, new bathrooms, and continue to do the repairs. I've spent over $200,000 in doing repairs. The city has put in on the roof, through a Skippy grant, they removed the their air condition from in the basement and put it on the roof, which compromised the roof, and we had a number of, the architect and engineer said that is the reason, a number of leaking problems, because you don't put a new big air conditioner on an old roof, which is continually giving problem. However, it's been fixed. On November the 4th, at the request of official meeting by the staff of the city, I attended Birchcliff resident, and I was informed that the city is in the process of finalizing a new location and would be given 1 month's notice. The next day, I read in the papers that my husband showed me in the morning, said, oh, in the papers, on the GTA, that the city is, and that's the 5th, the city eyes East End Motel to replace Birchcliff resident. The city throughout the years has not negotiated in good faith. I must add that 2 years ago, there was a proposal from the federal grant for renovation of shelters. And I met with the city. I called on several times asking to put in this proposal so that we can put in an elevator, because there's some older men who needs to go up and down the stairs. However, this was never done. Last year, I also discussed with the city some maintenance issues. However, we have proposed, and if you have a building, you need to put effort in painting it to look fresh, doing the work to make it look, you dress every day, just the same way a building needs to be maintained. This building is old, it's homely. However, the residents there say, they're senior men, and my background, my first was at Seton House, where I did my field work as a social worker. The outdoor space lends itself to the city, to the residents, where they make a garden, and they do have, however, I would take this
I
opportunity.
just ask you to conclude, Ms. Pinnock. That would be
Yes, I will.
30 seconds.
Said that the city, I am prepared to sell the property to the city, as the city needs 9 new shelters to revitalize, for the revitalization of Seton House. So
right.
this is my deputation.
Thank you very much. We'll see here if there's any questions for you, but we thank you for your remarks. Are there any questions of Ms. Pinnock? Yes, Councillor Crawford.
Hi, Stella. How are you? So how old is the building?
Well, there are 3 wings. It doesn't show from the front, but the last wing was put in about 25, about 35 years. The last wing, there's the front old building, which was the old coach house, but there are 3 wings that there.
Now, would you agree, I've been in the building as of 2 weeks ago at actually Thanksgiving, would you agree that it is in a deteriorating condition on the inside and really does not meet the needs of the residents in there? Would you agree to that, it's in pretty rough shape?
Well, as I mentioned here, a building needs to be maintained in that you need to, if a piece of the wall is kicked in by a resident or something, you need to plaster it, yes, and you need to paint it. So a building is like, it needs to be maintained. You just cannot leave it there to deteriorate.
So as the leasee or the leaseholder, you have lived up to all of your obligations with regard to that facility.
The lease specified that the city should do. The city's responsibility is for the interior, and I have done all. I mean, the city, we have got 2 bathrooms, and they even put cement in the toilet in one of the bathrooms. How could you do that when you have men going to shower? I recently had to spend $20,000 and redo the bathroom, put in even a urinal for the men. I'm just saying, yes, you have to maintain the building. You have to have maintenance and paint to make it look fresh. When you go into a building, you have to refreshen it.
So you're suggesting that you would, first of all, you weren't happy, I'm assuming, when the city came and said that they were finalizing to purchase a new property somewhere. It sounds as if you weren't pleased with that because you would like the residents to stay in the present location. No.
Earlier the year, I met with Jack Harvey and Emiche from the city, and we went around the buildings and we were doing the repair. We are doing some of the renovation for them, which the city should be doing. I'm saying the city. I am not saying that. They said, okay, do it, and they will give market rent. They did not say they were looking for a property. Otherwise, I think. So
and you had mentioned, you had stated that you have had discussions and negotiations with city staff in the past to purchase that property. Is that
yes,
true?
Yes,
and what year would that have been?
That was around 2008 or 2009, sometime there.
2008 and 2009?
Yeah, I think between, I have to go back and look at the exact date. They came in and they said they would purchase the building, and I agreed to purchase it, for them to purchase it. Okay. They said they had, and I think even Jack Harvey mentioned there's somewhere in the file there's supposed to be some information on it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. There are some other questions that I'm wanting to ask, but I'm concerned that they'll be confidential in nature. And I think we may unfortunately have to go into camera to ask some of these questions because this is something that's come up that I was not expecting.
All right. I just had one more. If anybody else have any of Ms. Pinnock? Mike, Councillor Thompson?
Sorry. Ms. Pinnock, how large is your building?
The building?
Yes.
22,000 square feet.
Right. And what was your rent that you collected on
$24,000.
24,000.
And this is since 1999. They have not given an increase.
I'm sorry,
Since 1999, when the city commenced leasing the building, the same rent remains, even though we've...
To current day 2000?
To current date.
So, and as part of your leasing agreement, did you agree to do all the necessary repairs? Because I'm a little confused with that. I thought that...
No,
sorry, may I just finish my question, please? I was under the impression that typically in the commercial leases that you're responsible for internal work, or if any major work that needs to be done, that somehow was as a result of the need to improve the facility, there'll be other conversation between the owner and obviously the leasee, but in fact the leasee would be responsible for doing the bulk of any repairs and so on. Is that the agreement that you have?
The lease on page 4 states that the city is responsible for the interior maintenance and repairs of the building.
So when the question was asked by Councillor Crawford about sort of the facility itself, and you responded, you talked a little bit about the exterior, I presume that the question was predominantly pertaining to the interior of the facility. Are you then suggesting that that was the city's responsibility and not your responsibility?
It was the city's responsibility.
So the deterioration that we've heard that has been spoken about, did the city have a maintenance person, for example?
No. No.
Was there a company contracted?
No.
So how was the maintenance done?
They would call somebody outside of somebody, they'd call a contractor from outside, like, I mean, a simple thing like a toilet handle that broke, that they will call somebody to outside the contract to fix it.
Can you tell me, Ms. Pinnock, the surrounding community in terms of the acceptance of the men who are residents in this particular facility, can you tell me about the relationship? I understand that there's a school close by. Was there an issue? Was there any concern from the school or the parents in the area about your facility or the facility that the city leased from you and had the men use as a shelter?
No, there was no concern about them. The men were accepted in the community.
Can you give me a little bit of history about your facility? So you said, how long have you owned the facility?
I owned the facility since 1998. It was supposed to be a nursing home. It was a nursing home, and we were planning to rebuild it for a culturally sensitive nursing home at the time.
Okay, and then the city leased it?
Yes, after, yes.
All right. So you've said here today that you'd like the city to acquire the property?
Well, yes, it's a home for the city. I mean, as a social worker, the city should acquire the home and maintain the senior residents around the area, because it's a facility for them. They walk down the lake, they walk, and they have a beautiful backyard. They have a fish in ground in there. It's a home. It's
right
for them.
So I just want to make it clear, you have no objections with respect to what's being suggested here today with respect to additional facility at 3306 Kingston Road, do you?
No, I have.
You're not saying that by
no,
my
the city
property
needs 9 new shelters.
That's what I was getting at.
To replace the revitalization of Seton House. As I said, I did my field work as a social worker at Seton House.
Right.
So I know the need for the shelters for vulnerable homeless people. So the city do need facilities to accommodate people. Some of the men would be able to stay in the area because they pose no stress circumstances in life if you talk to them that they need a place to live, which is a home. And if you look at that building, if you've been into all the city shelters, they have a barrier between the staff and the residents. I can tell you, I'm a community person, that shelter does not, or that home, I call it, I shouldn't say shelter, it's a residence. There's no barrier between the residents as you walk in and the city. I think they'll have to do that up at the new building.
I just have 30 seconds left, and I have one last question. Has there ever been any problems with respect to the men who are residents in the leased property that you lease to the city and the greater community? Is there a general level of acceptance of these residents in the community?
No, there is a general acceptance. When the smoking was banned, we worked to get them a gazebo outside so they could smoke. So they, could go out and smoke in the yard to make it look nice.
They're respected.
Yes, they are respected.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. I just had a couple of questions, and there's somebody coming on their way over to join us for part of this discussion. But Ms. Pinnock, I had a couple of questions. First of all, you made reference to the outside, and I saw the backyard when I was there. And the backyard is actually quite nice and does have the fish pond you talked about and some other landscaping improvements. Would I be correct, just when we talked about who was responsible for inside and outside, that they did that work, including a lot of volunteer work done by the residents themselves to make it the backyard you described?
Yeah, well, the residents are involved in doing something, and they with some of the staff and volunteers, they prepare the garden. One man proud to show me what he grow, and you know the fish out. When the branches break down, I remove all the trees. The trees, you know, were there, so we cleared the area. I did all of that so they could have the area cleared.
But they did a lot of that, and you,
Yeah.
you didn't. I mean, it wasn't somehow your responsibility. You didn't finance that either.
What
Fixing up the backyard.
I did fix up the steps and the railing. I did that.
But a lot of the rest of what you described, the fish pond and so on, was done by the
They
residents.
did
and paid
that
for,
themselves,
or by the
you
city,
know.
but not by you.
No, no.
And then just going inside for a minute, I just wanted to clarify, because there's a room in there that's quite a large room that I would have thought could be used for some sort of common space, but my understanding is it's been closed for a number of years because there may be mold or something worse in there that is not good for people to be in. I was in there and it did sort of have a smell that may be reminiscent of that. And is that something you're familiar with?
No, I don't know.
Nobody's ever talked to you about
no
that?
mold. The thing is, when you have a bathroom and you do not, the fan is not working. When men shower, they have 3 shower stalls. The city renovate the bathroom when they came in. 3 shower stalls, and the mold build up when there's no fan. So
This is not the bathroom. This is a room downstairs. I'm sorry, I forgot to reset the clock, but I'm basically done. But this is a room downstairs, not a bathroom. It's a
no room, because downstairs it's all done. We redo the downstairs room, so I don't know which room is downstairs. I was there just recently, and there's no room downstairs that is closed up.
Well, I was there 2 weeks ago too. And this
Well,
was
the only big
closed
room
and
is the big room
not
where the
in
old air
use.
conditioner was, and then the city has some stuff stored in another room, and the back room with 2 washrooms that are completed.
Okay, thank you. We have some other questions that need to be dealt with, perhaps with staff, and we've got somebody. Is the solicitor here? On the way.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have somebody that we need to get some advice from on their way here. So it'll be just a few minutes. Do we have any quick releases or anything we could do while we're just waiting? Because we just had. Pardon me. A solicitor who's familiar with the file from.